Welcome to the Define Student Voice podcast with me, Lifeline Vita, your host at ZINASU National Students Union. And today I'm joined by a revolutionary guest, that is Ms. Fanny Ogona, the legal secretary in Takunda Muka. So today I want to discuss on what transpired during your suspensions. So I want to have a clear understanding of what really happened when you were suspended. So I've noted that there's a paradigm shift in terms of how student activism has been treated previously and currently. It's no longer an issue whereby students focus on students. They are now treated as students per se, focusing on students' social welfare, but it's now something that is driven even into political terms. We have now seen that students are now being treated as enemies of the state instead of just being students. That's why we see that it's no longer the suspension of students, but it's something that is giving a national outlook, something that is sending a message to say if people express their voices, if students express their voices, then at the end they are suspended, they are intimidated. So you are joining us today to have a clear understanding, since it happens that you were suspended back in March from the Midlands State University. So I want to understand what really transpired, what really happened, what were your experiences. So that's what we are looking to focus on today. So I'll start with you, Takunda Muka. What really happened before you were suspended up until the suspension?
Well, thank you so much. I think that is a very important platform. We needed to share this. So what happened is when there is an intake, whenever there is an intake, February intake, August intake, they choose students so that they can assist the coming ones to orientation ambassadors. You know, when ones are new on campus, they need someone who assists them. Get toilets there. At this time, you must be at this place. So that's when I was chosen to be one of those orientation ambassadors. So the Dean of Students also tasked me to choose other students to be orientation ambassadors as well. So I chose other students, the likes of Nesta Moyo, Tanaka Sibanda, my brother Fano Gona, Kigen Mate, and others. So the ones came to do our duties, you know, telling them, accommodating them with this is your hostel. This is your hostel. At this time, you must be at this place. So in doing so, you know, we believe that as the Zimbabwe National Students Union, we have that duty to conscientize students on their civic and political rights, political awareness. Because they would ask, my brother, look, you are a student like me, but why are you an orientation ambassador? So I say, I know if you want to be a leader like me, you have to go through this, and this. And then there's the Zimbabwe National Students Union, we can help to nurture you to be a leader just like me, so that in the near future you could also be selected to be an orientation ambassador like me. But then I never knew that according to them that one was a very serious crime. So the ones came on a Sunday. I think it was the 16th of February if I'm not mistaken. On a Sunday, then that is when everything happened. But then on a Sunday, then Monday, the ones went for their orientation and came back. Tuesday they went and came back. Then on Wednesday I received a call from the security to say, come here. Then I went to their offices and they showed me some pictures. I'm not sure where they generated them, but they were screenshots from a certain WhatsApp platform. Say, you need to explain your appearance on these pictures. I said, this is me. Because the pictures, there was me and my other comrade standing amongst the ones. So I said, this is me doing my duties because I was orientation ambassador. I said, no, we were informed that you were recruiting students to ZINASU, but we had tasked you to be an orientation ambassador. I said, but is it a crime to recruit students to ZINASU? So they said, you need to write a report on what you were doing. You were misrepresenting students. We told you to be an orientation ambassador, but then you had to misrepresent the students and turn that orientation into a recruitment drive. So I said, I can't write a report without advice from my legal practitioners. So I said, I needed legal assistance because I don't know exactly what you want me to write about. So they said, if you don't want to write, then we take you to the office of the registrar. It was actually a threat because the registrar was the one who then expelled me. So I said, it's okay, we can go to the office of the registrar. The registrar said, if you don't want to write a report confirming that you were conducting a recruitment drive, then we have to suspend you. Then I said, if you can do that, I think it's better than for me to admit to something that I actually didn't do. Something that I don't think is a crime actually. So
Okay, but I want to understand. Sometime it happened that prior, maybe after that incident that you're explaining, you were then taken back to a place, to your home. What really transpired?
I know that was before. That was before I was taken to my rural home.
Yes.
I visited the registrar's office, and then he told me that we have to suspend you and everything. He said it's okay. So he said, so now go. I will remain here preparing your suspension letter, your expulsion letter. So I went to my hostel, waiting for the suspension letter. So it was around 2 p.m. Nothing happened. Then I had to actually sleep because around about 10 a.m. nobody had informed me. So I said, of course they were not going to come today. They will come tomorrow. So at around 2 a.m. I had a knock on my hostel. I said, who is it? Then it's security. I said, but comrades, what do you want at this
No,
time?
but I want to understand something. Is it usual for security to come during that time, maybe to visit hostels and even knock waking up students?
It's unusual, but maybe in terms of emergencies, but it has never happened that security will visit you and
Yeah, I understand. Okay, so what really happened then?
So I said, then I can't open my door at this time of year because on that day it was only me. We usually sleep 4 people in a room. So on that day it was only myself and one of my roommates. The other 2 were not yet there because the ordinary students were not yet back.
Okay,
only one was, yeah. So we were only 2 in that room. So I said, I can't open the door at this time of the night. They said, if you don't want to open, it's okay. Then they called the chief security, say he's refusing to open his door. They then came with spare keys and unlocked the door. 2 a.m. I said. Then they said we came with the suspension letter from the vice chancellor. You should leave the premises.
Around 2 a.m.
That is 2 a.m. I said, okay, at least let me contact my lawyers again, or at least let it be time with family chain so that maybe I can go because I can't go anywhere this time. They said, I know. We were actually tasked to escort you.
So did they allow you to call the lawyers?
They took my phone. The moment I said that, they took my phone.
So they denied you the right to have legal representation that time, or to have legal advice that time?
Yeah.
Okay, which is another violation of the constitution, right?
Exactly.
Okay, you can go on.
So the problem came when they said I needed to sign acknowledging receipt of the suspension letter. I said, but I can't sign something that I'm not understanding. I need to call my lawyer first, then read out the suspension letter, and then maybe you will advise me whether to sign or not to sign. So they said, I don't care even if you don't sign. They said, so pack your things and let's go. I said, I can't pack my things at this time of the night. So they packed the things because it was clear this is my side, this is the side of my roommate. So they could easily determine something on the issue. So they packed my things. Then they some sitting motor and got to report panze, yakamira panze.
Okay, so they had a car that was
prepared.
Yeah,
the car came with the chief security who came with the spare keys to unlock the door. But I didn't know by then that they had a car. So I said, I won't go. Where would they take me this time of the night? I didn't know. Exactly. So then I said, they said, so we have taken your things, now we have to move and let's go. I said, I'm not going anywhere. They had to take me literally grabbing me out of the room. So I had to make some noise, of course, and then some students had to wake up, but they couldn't do anything.
So apa aunotombopiwa kana chance yekufona kumba kuti ndo zvaitika.
The first thing they did was to tora phone yam. That's what they did. So I was actually amazed. Why was it necessary? As if I was some kind of dangerous criminal to treat me that way. So they took me, then handcuffed me, and they threw me into the back of the car. It was a 4x4.
I want to say something. The previous days, you were the ambassador on behalf of the institution. Yes. But then now, you are being escorted out with handcuffs.
It was actually a very painful period. So they had to handcuff me, of course, because we were not agreeing. So it was a 4x4, so they to throw me at the back seat of the car. They drove. You know, when you join institutions, you have to give them your home address, and you are still level 11. So they took me to the home address that I had given them when I joined the institution.
Okay, before you continue, so you're saying kubva pawakakubata vakuisa mahandcuffs vakuisa mumota, so kutobva Midlands apo kusvika kumba kwenyu unga wangosungwa uri mumota imomo?
Yeah, I actually had some visible marks. I think they disappeared a few months ago. Black there, but even if you can look closely, I think you can see that it seems they are now permanent. So they drove. It's about 6-7 hours from Midlands to Wedza. 7-hour drive. So they drove. So you know rural settings, the address that I had written was the address of the nearest school.
Exactly, I understand.
So they took me to the nearest school and said, now you have to choose whether you direct us to your house or we just drop you off here. So I had to think, because my belongings they will be heavy for me to carry from the school. So I had to make it. At the same time, I was thinking, if they take me home with the handcuffs, then what will my parents do? So then I finally decided to say, okay, let's go home. So they to remove the handcuffs, because I was now steady, hungry from 3 a.m. It was now around 9-10.
Anything.
With the handcuffs on, handcuffs, they were at the back, right? So so they were now painful. So they removed them. So my mom was there, my dad was there. So my mom actually was amazed. Rural settings with such a big car, such ugly men, what's happening? So wakambototsanangura kuna mamota atauya nemwana wenyu atadza kuirana na vice chancellor because wakaita recruitment drive vachirekruta vana kuzinasu isingabvumirwe pachikoro vanga vachirekruta vana kuzinasu. So my parents didn't even understand because they don't even know what ZINASU is. So my mom had to cry.
But and I don't understand. But for MSU, ZINASU has been operating.
Yes.
In the previous years, maybe I can date back even in 2002, 2005, all those years. They stated used about the operation of ZINASU. So why now we are was it because of you?
Yeah, now they actually choose when to apply the laws and when not to. But actually, there's no rule at all at MSU that forbids the existence of students' unions, because the current dean of students right now is actually the patron of another students' union called what. So it didn't make sense for me to say you don't recognize students' union when the dean of students is patron of another students' union. So they actually fabricated charges.
Okay, yeah. Let's go back to the part. Which mama receive news.
Yeah.
Which don't at one point just to joke song. Don't at one point about mwana wangu sende mumuka. Then the way is being treated like an animal, something like that. But okay, mama also receive news. Then he said, "Chema, was this what happened." Of course, my parents don't understand. But I'm not sure he's fighting for a true cause. But you see, running was so. What was your reaction? Trying to calm down.
That was actually the most painful moment. A parent, you send your child to school, hoping that one day she is going to come back with a degree, you are going to attend the graduation, and maybe it will change the kind of life that you are leading. But then now he is coming back. I was taking it at 2 a.m. I was actually in my pajamas. It was feasible that I was at Mawoko. So of course he had to cry. My dad, as a man, he had to calm down at that moment, but you could tell that he is very disappointed. So they just dropped me off and drove back. So it was actually a moment of silence. I had to wait until the mom calms down. Then I had to explain my version of the story. No, we never knew that this one was a crime, and it actually isn't a crime, but we just feel victims of a panicking regime.
So, by that time, or because washika situation and or receive a bombshell, then I know those kind of situation. Did you even think about it?
What I was thinking, how should I conduct the ZINASU and other comrades to inform them of what had happened? Because nobody knew by then.
So abafoni pakasvika kumba foni wakatambidza iyoyo here?
No akatopa mama. Yeah, kutoti phone yake tata itora because we were afraid that it's not safe for us kuti tifambe naye ane phone. We start amutora achita zvekunetsana naye. So they explained their affection. So zvazvitori mupfungwa mangu was to contact the national executive to inform them kuti this is what has transpired. So that is what I did. But then when I opened my phone, I saw a lot of notifications. I'm sure some of my comrades had actually informed them. The issue was already trending on Twitter, Facebook, even on WhatsApp. So I appreciated the response that we got from the ZINASU National Executive.
Okay, Tshiribabu, I want to understand from your side, what did you experience the similar treatment, or for you it was different?
My case, it was different from Comrade Bashasha. Because what happened is, soon after we embarked on that recruitment drive, you know, MSU, just like any other state institutions, there is existence of union. In all higher tertiary institutions, be it your lecturers, there's this union which stands for the lecturers. If there are students, there's also these unions which also make sure that they address issues of the students. So what happened is, as usual, I thought each and every year we always carry this recruitment drive. Sometimes we might not have that advantage of being part and parcel of the enrollment period. You know, whenever the one once came to the campus, there's this period of orientation, something like that. So, you know, at MSU, those guys from ZINASU are the ones who only have that opportunity. Because ZINASU probably...
But I wonder, ZINASU is so student union just like ZINASU?
It's a student union, but what differs ZINASU with ZINASU is that ZINASU, everything, or the aims and the objectives of the ZINASU, they are in line with the ZANPIA. They are in line with the chancellor of all universities. They are in line with that. So it's very rare for you to see ZINASU fighting for fees master 4. It's very rare for you to see them confronting the administration. They act sort of as catalyst on behalf of the
administration. All right. Muchiripabu, I want to understand something. So can we say the way unionism is supposed to operate by MSU is different from what we can expect from the literal meaning of unionism? Because from what you have explained, it seems as if it's something that is directly aligned to the national structures, something that is no longer at student level, but something that has got a reflection even within the political arena. So I want for you to confirm that aspect. Is it still student union or something that is different? Maybe it's the part of ZINASU, I don't know, it's part of ZINASU.
You see, the structure at Midlands State University, I might say it's different from other state universities that we know. It's different from University of Zimbabwe. So you see, at Midlands State University, starting from the one who is at security department, it comes to dean, when it comes to even chaplain himself, it's all about
the man of God.
The man of God himself. It's all about if he's an NPF, already can get employed at Midlands State University. So everything that they do, they make sure that as long we are not part and parcel of subscribing to ZANPF, ZINASU, or the government, automatically they will treat you otherwise. That's why you see my brother, this comrade of mine was treated.
Yeah, because I wanted to ask that question. Where was the chaplain when all those things were? Because I understand a chaplain at a tertiary institution is there for emotional support, is there also to intercede between the student and the institution, be it the institution employees, that is security and stuff. So, but now I'm surprised you're telling me that maybe if you are aligned to some PF, then you can be the chaplain. So is it still a requirement for one maybe to start theology, or it's all about having the ideology of some PF, then you become a chaplain? But it's really disappointing from what I'm understanding from Takunda's experience, that where was the chaplain around all that time? This happening, the suffering happening, the intimidation and the dragging and stuff. So I want to understand on that part.
You see, MSU is sort of a system. As long they know that you are a cadre for ZINASU, everything, the way they will treat you, is different. Because to them, probably they view us sort of as a political party, if I might say that. Each and every time, whenever we have these SRC elections, you see, they give us that platform. And even during the time of our hearing, I don't know if Comrade, you still remember, they mentioned that we only know the existence of ZINASU and ZINASU during the time of election period, which is also wrong. It's not true.
So that part they acknowledged that they know the existence of union.
And you see, this time around, if I might say, chakakonzeresa kuti zvinyanyoma this time around is because, you know, all along at Midlands State University, the ZINASU guys, they have that privilege of winning SRC elections, despite the fact that these students really vote for them, or it's only a matter of the administration trying to protect the system. So each and every time, panechwa my orientation for the ones. The ZINASU guys, since they have the upper hand in SRC, and also they will come because they have the upper hand of SRC, they control all the clubs. That was the situation back then. So every time, I'm sure my someone's got any issue to do with, no, this one was suspended because of recruitment drive. But this time around, ZINASU tried by all means say, no, let's try to infiltrate and also capture those clubs.
So it was like sort of like a shift in terms of powers. You see ZINASU coming to dominance for MSU. Then so, that's where the threat came.
They didn't even notice it. We managed to make sure that each and every club we have one of our cadre who is a leader there. So by the time they realized, no, it's too late. But these guys, they were selected to be brand ambassadors, where they will make sure that they assist the ones in moving around all the campus and other things and get to know the campus. So those guys who were leading there, they were ZINASU cadres. Out of blue, I really don't know what happened, but then they ended up what was that, no, Taisa on ZINASU. That's why you see soon after our suspension letters, Dean was suspended. In fact, Dean Agabasia Bas, the director Angaruma clubs, the Basia Bas, out of blue. And there's no a better explanation of saying that. Is it because of our suspensions? Because of our behavior that they mentioned that no, we were threatening the interests of the university. So
you're challenging the status quo. Then that's where the problem emanated from.
Right now, the one who was testifying, could I know these guys, they were doing recruitment drive. We saw this guy doing those recruitment drive. Agaba promoter is now the dean of students.
So you're saying the key witness during both of your hearings
yes,
is now promoted, is now the dean of students. The same position which you are saying, soon after my suspend women.
Yes.
Okay. So I see there's a.
So you see, it's not a matter of saying no, doing recruitment drive is a threat. Maybe to my analysis, I might think that during the time I take a suspend, don't go again, Comrade Bombshell. You see, I try to downplay some of his issues. So maybe somewhere, since this is a state university, which appeared to be the first president, the president of Zimbabwe is the chancellor of that university, who is also part and parcel of ZANU. Maybe to them they feel like ZINASU, since it's sort of we subscribe to sort of opposition parties, they feel like now we are now threats, which is wrong.
But just subscribe, or it's a matter of ideology.
ZINASU is a non-partisan.
Okay, I want to understand. I've asked you this question, Chiti. I mean, did you experience the same thing? So from your own experience, it seems as if Takunda was the kingpin. He experienced all this suffering on behalf of you. Suspension letters for a hearing, something like that. But okay, Tishili Papa, I want to understand something from you, Takunda. During the hearing, because I understand, I mean, representation.
Yeah, we got legal representation, but you know, to me it didn't make any sense. That Mafa guy, that comrade who has been promoted to be the dean of students, he was actually saying they unnecessarily splitted the charges because they knew these were fabricated charges. So mine got in first in hearing. So that Mafa comrade was saying, I was informed by some students that these guys were conducting a recruitment drive. So it was not making sense at all. But then when he realized that, no, I'm not making sense here, he came again to witness on Tanaka is the one who came second. This time around, he was saying, I saw them with my own 2 eyes. So then...
So during the panel, during the hearing, they didn't even notice the inconsistencies in terms of the statement given by the witness.
That's what I'm trying to prove. But it was just a hearing, but it was marked by a lot of irregularities. This time around, he was saying, I saw her. So I was saying, comrade, you saw her. Why didn't you just come and say, Tanaka, you are recruiting. What you are doing is not allowed here. Because we recruited students on a Sunday. And then the hearing was done up. You came to give us suspension letters on a Wednesday. All along, why were you silent when you saw us with your own twice? So it was just a hearing, but then the hearing was just a fake procedural process.
So it was something like trying to justify.
Yeah.
It's just trying to justify the end.
Yes.
They already had a dissemination, but they just want to justify it through
Yeah,
a
it
process.
was a matter of trying to formalize. Even if you check some of the pictures that were circulating, you know, each and every day at a hearing, we are police officers,
Yeah.
even including
Yeah, I
myself.
remember that.
Uchitotiri muhearing mapolisi anenge akagarapo uchida kuenda kunodya tombopiwa time yekunoita sei
Because you are still students.
yeah pauri kunodya paipe kuteerwa nepolisi. So you see kuti it's not a matter of institution, because I don't see any harm for recruiting, saying no guys, comrades, join ZINASU. ZINASU is just a students union. We operate it this way. It's not even a political
Because I understand, like, being new students, of course, you have to introduce them on how you can be a leader, how you can even rise to certain set of opportunities.
Trying to make sense of this scenario, you'll see that it's a matter of a state interest. Maybe in some way, somehow, we ended up harming the interests of the state. Because what's the use of police officers to a student? Are you a criminal? Only to say, comrades, join ZINASU.
Okay, I asked Takunda this same question. Agent Sanangura, about what happened, how his family received the news. I want to understand from your side. Family Nyagatambiro say news.
Well, just like every family, I'm sure that our fathers, our mothers, their wish to this, it's upper end, higher tertiary education. To others, it's still a dream. One day, maybe I will pass Form 6. I will go and graduate at a better institution where I have a degree. Probably I will manage to liberate my family from the poverty. So my mother, my father, they were very disappointed. But then they knew that this comrade loves, activism, because since 1-2, I was once chapter secretary general. Midlands State University. So they knew that this comrades, they behave in this manner, but they didn't see it coming. Say, no, teachers will seek extend with more and suspend. And my case might also differ from him, because mine is a matter of saying you see. So kutokanika kwandakatita at Midlands State University kwabva katondidzosa mashure. Even the family, I'm now flourishing. Very disappointed.
Then on your side, I understand you're embarking on what did it call it? Yeah, exactly, work for fees program. How was it affected?
Yeah, I think that is the reason why I was actually totally expelled. It seemed I disappointed the institution a lot. That is why they were so angry at me. Because the work for fees program was actually a very lucrative program. They would pay 75% of my fees, free accommodation, free food, they give us airtime, So they thought that no, I was not supposed to speak. Say, why are you saying fees must fall, the fees that you are not even paying? But according to me now, I was saying attending tertiary education is a privilege. It's not something that is normal. Education is a right. You can't take pride in attending tertiary education only because you got a scholarship. What about others who failed to get such privileges? So they were actually disappointed in my behavior. I say, this comrade, we are paying for him, we are giving him food, we are giving him accommodation. So the terms of the contract now say that the contract will be terminated when one ceases to be a student of Midlands State University. So the moment I was expelled, it then means the contract was automatically terminated. So I'm now no longer part of that.
Okay, so I understand. So in the link, so you can say you sacrificed beer for a few so that men can have what?
Yeah, exactly.
I understand. That's good. Okay, then I want to ask you this question. Since March 2025, when you received the determination, when you expelled, and when you were suspended, how have you been dealing with this academic exile? Any specific reactions from your surrounding, for example, friends?
You see, not everyone understands the importance of these students' union. And you see, we came from different communities, with different backgrounds. Mine, when we saw that Zanai, if I might say, now that was sort of a hope of saying, I know Agona is now doing well at Midlands State University. He was once a Secretary General, now he's now illegal. But then out of blue, Babangonza are suspended for this. In the, you know, at some point they were appreciating what you are doing because it was good. But then because consequences now, if apana asimu nisanta and try to so my friends machine here I know we are now afraid to company was not to rise. You see, my friends are rented now at Midlands State University, my students. We ended up saying, I know if I associate with you guys, I might ended up facing the same fate, including family. So you see, we ended up parting that stereotype of saying, I know these comrades are.
So are you saying so associate with my friends and you with you, was it someone linked with you being banned? Even Muri 10 meters away from the main gate.
Once you receive a suspension letter by MSU, you are no longer allowed to be closer.
Even Kutarisa, major institution.
I'm sure you have 2 examples of the comrades that try to Pasika. This one, you still remember, police station.
And a recent incident also of another student.
Yeah, only because I'm going to meet up again. So, you see, maybe in some way, somehow, the government is now politicizing this high institution.
So, okay, you mentioned about the politicization of teacher institutions. So, is it like your suspensions? Do they have something linked with the current campaign that ZINASU is embarking on? That is #depoliticize our institutions. Is it somehow linked to that one?
Indeed, it's linked because it's a clear indication of saying that no, these political actors, especially from the ruling party, they benefit from controlling my students. Whenever they want to do my rally, you see, my students without knowing, especially these ones, without knowing that I know we are going for a good rally. I am sure we are closer towards the Euroseka in Chichi. The course in again upper end, especially in state universities, state institutions. So I know pure that permission to know try my basic try my students. My students are going to celebrate. So it's whose interest are they saving? That's the question. Whose interest are they
okay,
saving?
yeah, I've understood that part. But issue the politicization of my institutions is something that has been happening. I remember very well some time back, that was in 2001, the then Secretary General, that is ZINASU, he mentioned recently following 21 students, if I'm not mistaken, from the University that were suspended, including the SRC. You mentioned about the depoliticization of institutions, but up to now, this is something that is recurring, something that is happening. What will be your comment on that aspect? Do you see any hope in trying to depoliticize institutions like MSU, like University of Zimbabwe, like Great Zimbabwe, and even other state-owned institutions?
Exactly, and I would like to appreciate, if you get a ZINASU t-shirt, the most recent ZINASU t-shirts, the theme at the back, it is saying, the forcing students issues from the national question is an illegitimate task if not bogus. The students need to understand that they need to put their voice in answering the national question. That is why we were suspended, because it's actually being impactful to the state. They can feel the pressure. No, the students are speaking against politicized campuses. We can't have a situation whereby one student, they are just told that bus is going out on Saturday. You know, the first gathering that I attended when I was 1-1, it was the National Youth Day. I was a passionate student leader, but then when I attended that program, I thought, it's a National Youth Day. Only to realize that if you don't say Pambernes and PF, you're going to be in trap. I think that is why I became so openly against the Midlands State University. I was saying, but Jim, when we attended this program, we were told it's a National Youth Day, and the National Youth Day is a national program. We went there, we were told to wear ZANU-PF t-shirts, Pambernes ZANU-PF. So such politicization. So when we were recruiting students to ZINASU, we actually tell them, comrades, no, when we are here, we are students. You have that right to affiliate with any movement that you want to affiliate with. ZIKOSU, ZINASU, clubs. We are not forced to be ZANU-PF members simply because we are at a state institution. So it's actually making sense. What the Zimbabwe National Students Union is doing is actually being impactful to that move to depoliticize campuses.
Okay. Then my other question, I'll start with you, Fanu. What long-term impact do you see concerning, in light of these suspensions? What long-term impact do you see is being experienced, or that we are going to experience in terms of student activism if these go unchallenged? It's the issue of suspensions.
You see, acquiring that higher and tertiary education, especially at university, it's a hope of someone of saying, no, in 3 years' time, maybe I'll be working. Of course, not mentioning about the economic genocide that we are facing in Zimbabwe. But I'm saying, once you acquire that higher tertiary education, you have that hope of saying, no, want to. But then, because of this suspension, you might sometimes, even at some point, there are many instances whereby I'll be thinking, no, I'm done with this. Maybe this thing of trying to educate myself, acquiring degree, maybe it's not working. Sometimes, no mukos na hope. Sometimes no unataka hope because our case ichiri nema lawyers, and our hope is to win that case quite good. But my point is, when we associate now on a daily basis, sometimes they determine and define who you are and who you will be. You get it? Maybe I have that privilege of associating with some of other comrades from different progressive organizations, where I get that opportunity to still have, I'm still fighting. What about someone who was suspended, who doesn't even have that privilege of linking around with these comrades? Imagine.
So you're just trying to say the impact can be lasting. It can deter other students from raising their voices, from exercising freedom of expression, from even conscientizing other students about their right to education. So I want to come to you, Takunda. How do you feel, from your own perspective, has been the long-term impact of these suspensions? Because we have not only experienced suspensions from MSU, we have suspensions from Great Zimbabwe by Darlington Matola and Linus Mnogwe were suspended. Then at UZ, we had other 6 students that were suspended. Although suspensions were lifted, all thanks to the pressure which you were mentioning from the Zimbabwe National Students Union. So really, yes, I can agree with you that the student union is having an impact. But I want to understand from you, what do you see as a long-term impact from emanating from these suspensions in terms of student activism?
Yeah, if this goes unchallenged, especially under this panicking regime of Emerson Mnangagwa, students may actually suffer a lot. Because if you see, even if you go back to history, such stupid suspensions of students has never happened. Say we have about 16 students being suspended in a period of about 2 months. And right now at MSU, you see the chief protagonist of the suspensions, who happens to be a ZANU-PF councillor, patron of ZIKOSU, have been promoted to be a dean of students. And if this goes unchallenged, imagine the future of student activism at Midlands State University under a dean who is a patron of another students union, who is a ZANU-PF counselor.
But no, but it's not a problem for him to be a patron of another union. But I want to understand, how does it impact maybe the freedom of association in terms of other students?
Yeah, I think, you know, Zimbabwe, it's a democratic country, indeed, in paper. But the democratic space, I'm sure, if you trace since 2013 up to now, is shrinking. That space is closing day by day. And let's not also forget the agenda of ZANU-PF is to have one-party state in Zimbabwe. And politically, if you ask those politicians, there is no way here in Zimbabwe or in this world where you can find a space, you know, consist of more than thousands of youth in one space. Only at a higher tertiary institution where you find those youths. So to ZANU-PF, it's a matter of saying, you know, people, they can be loyal in two ways. I can be loyal through love. I can be loyal to you through fear, you see. So to them, they feel like ZINASU is there trying to conscientize the minds of the youth, so that probably they will be subscribing to the different ideology from them. So ZANU-PF, its aim is to make sure that once we enroll up Zegu, once we enroll up Buse, we are to capture with a different ideology.
So
that's the fight.
Are you mentioning ZANU-PF in line as the ruling party, or in line as the party that has the sitting president, or are you mentioning it as having a direct impact in student activism?
You see, here in Zimbabwe, it's very hard for you to redefine or to separate the government and the ruling party.
Okay,
I don't know if you are getting my
I understand. I wouldn't want to dwell much on that aspect. What I simply want to understand is, you mentioned that just because ZINASU is coming, maybe to them they think that they want to imbue the students with a different ideology. But as I was saying before, there's freedom of association. Students, they are allowed even to subscribe to different ideologies. That's just like someone maybe who choose to study journalism, other one choose to study law, another one medicine. So it's just a matter of choice. So I want to understand, how is that choice being impacted?
You see, we all have these rights. We all know that Section 75 talks about right to education, just like the right that you have for life. That's the same right you have when it comes to freedom of assembly. That's the same right you have when it comes to freedom of expression. So, in our context, in Zimbabwean context, these rights are very unpopular. When you mention something to do with the rights, automatically it's now a threat. Was he who feeds you owns you. And let's also not forget the one who is the chancellor. We all have many problems as students. And those problems can be addressed by the chancellor.
Okay, I've understood that part. So, but I want to come back to you, Takunda. You're explaining the impact, the long-term impacts of these suspensions. I'm sure you can continue, but I want you to bring out the aspect of, like, for example, on your suspended list, it included Tanaka, Svanda, then you also had Nesta. So I want to understand, how does it impact even on the side of female? We have a shortage of female leaders. We have use of intimidation. Historically, female have been disadvantaged. So how do you see these suspensions as even impacting the rise of female leaders from the youth themselves?
Yeah, honestly, in the long run, we may end up, if we submit to this Stone Age barbaric political terrorism by ZANU-PF, of suspending students, expelling students. If we submit to that, at the end of the day, their agenda is to have a student leadership that they control. And they also believe that opposite movement is coming from student leadership. So they also have an agenda to have an opposition that they control, or an opposition that doesn't exist. So they try to thwart student leadership so that tomorrow there is no someone like Nelson Chamisa, Job Scala, whoever is in the opposition political discourse. So that is their agenda, to thwart every voice that tries to speak out. So if we submit to that, at the end of the day, in the long run, we are not going to have student leaders, because I have been expelled, provided I had been broken, provided he had been broken, provided my other comrades had also been broken. It means we had already lost 5 aspiring next leaders of maybe even this country. And if those comrades from GZU had been broken, it means we had lost Daza, who is probably maybe the next president of this country. We would have lost Tilinos, who is probably maybe the next minister of this country. So if we submit to this genocide by ZANU-PF, we are going to have shortage of next promising authentic student leaders, even national political leaders.
Okay, you mentioned about the aspect of saying your meta is still at the course, whereby you're challenging your expulsion, you're also challenging your suspension. So, but I want to understand how hopeful are you that there can be 10 of events in terms of those suspensions?
Well, I think Great Zimbabwe University shows us that we still have hope. We have 2 of our comrades, Comrade Darlington Matola, Comrade Linus Mnobeni. I'm sure High Court Nenge got to set a date already, which means that the next bus stop, it might be us. Since if I use it at some point, the students, we managed to give solidarity, clear solidarity with the lecturers, but students that were reinstated. So even to our case, we wish that no, since it GZU, maybe at Midlands State University, sooner or later they are going to announce date record this season. So now it is a
Okay, but my worry is, do you think the institutions will receive you back? Maybe if we say the High Court then overturn the suspension. Because I remember very well, sometime back, the former spokesperson of ZINASU, Mfundo Mlilo, he was suspended from UZ. Then the matter went to the High Court. But then when the matter went to the High Court, the suspension was overturned. Then he went back to use it. But the Vice Chancellor by then, that is Ms. Nyagura, he said, oh, so the High Court have overturned the suspension, and I know this is High Court. Yeah, that's what he said. And so that's why I'm much worried about. Do you think the institutions will receive it?
Well, we have hope that they do, but we believe that hope is not enough. This process of going to the courts, you are just giving them the fascist administration at Midlands State University that period to come back to their normal senses and reverse this. It's just like what the University of Zimbabwe did. They didn't wait for the High Court to do that. They didn't wait for us to show them the other side of us so that they can reverse. They just came back to their normal senses and said, no, comrades, come back to class. So hope is that Midlands State University will follow suit and do the same, come back to their normal senses and receive us back. But if they fail to do that, we also have other avenues of forcing them to do so.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, as we're trying to wrap up this discussion, I hope that we're going to even invite other members from the group and also members from the Great Zimbabwe University that were suspended to also understand, because the world needs to know about what is really happening. I'm sure we have experienced from many Twitter spaces that we have had, we have experienced that the world, they don't even know what really happened with the suspensions. That's why we invited you today at the Defense Student Voice podcast to understand what's really transpired. When you're expressing those issues to them, it is different from you explaining it from the horse's mouth. Someone would want to understand what really happened with the Chagunda Muka. Yes, we were told that he was. I remember very well a very detailed account of what really transpired. But hearing it from you, what really happened? Up you abandoned there in Wales, and what really happened to you up until you're barred from even standing or even staring at the MSU badge. I don't know if you still have the MSU badge within your vicinity, but I want to understand what would be your message to the world itself, to the citizens of Zimbabwe to rally behind students, to understand why we should challenge these suspensions, why we should oppose this status quo, why we should shout and make sure we amplify the voice for you to be reinstated, for the students from GZ to be reinstated back in school, and also have the ability and also have that chance to attain tertiary education, just like other ministers who have attained it in contrasting terms, that is through free education. But for your own in your own perspective, we want to understand what will be your message, because we need the world to understand.
My message is very short. I'll start with our nation is a democratic country. So because of that only, it gives us hope in the room that we should fight for a democratic space where our rights can be respected, where our rights can be addressed. Secondly, as students, we remain major stakeholders in many higher and tertiary institutions. So for the dean to be the dean is because of the students. For the security guard who abused my fellow comrade, it's because of the students. We are the ones, we are the major stakeholders, meaning to say they came to work because of us. Without us, we cannot talk about universities, vocational training center, teachers college. It's because of the students. And to make matters worse, in an environment on paper, legally, which allows people to respect it and to exercise their rights. So because of all those things, it gives us hope of saying, no, comrades, one day we will definitely achieve academic freedom. Our fathers, our mothers, they once get that privilege of learning for free. Imagine receiving a grant only because you've managed to acquire higher tertiary education at a certain university. It's now a different case to us. But what you should do as students, as youth, because one day it will be you, one day it will be your sister. And imagine maybe your sister is coming from a countryside where she is almost 8 to 10 kilometers, thinking that one day if I enroll at the University of Zimbabwe, I'll be a lawyer, I'll be a sociologist, maybe acquiring a better job. So because of all those hopes, we believe as ZINASU that we will remain torchbearer in many institutions. We will remain vanguards of the students' rights, no matter what. And we all know that once we join this struggle, to make sure that we will fight for a better environment where every student can survive.
Okay, I understand. I think I'll leave this time to Takula. What will be your message? Because we need the world to understand. We need the world to share, to resonate with your experiences. Why should we amplify the voice that students, five MSU students should be reinstated back, 2 GZ students should be reinstated back? Why should we amplify these voices?
Well, what I would want even the regime in narrate to know, Kuma Lifeline, is that we are sons and daughters of this country. We are law-abiding citizens. We are ghetto youths before being students. We come from the rural, we come from the ghettos. We don't Google poverty. We know these things. We know what we are going through. So when we are saying there is need to change the regime in our students, when you are saying they need to advocate for this and that, we need to be listening to. We are law-abiding citizens. I am not a criminal by simply saying, no, comrades, I think there is a better democratic way of doing things. So we want the world to know that our cause is a just cause. We are fighting for democracy that exists not only in theory, democracy that is not only a political rhetoric, but democracy that exists practically. We want freedom. We want you to do a dissertation research on the failures of ZANU-PF without comrades from the Central Intelligence Organization following you. We want that. That is what we mean by academic freedom. We want it to exist in practice, not only in theory. So that is our cause.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Fani Ogona, for joining us today, the Defense Student Voice Podcast. And thank you, Taputa Muka, for joining us also. And in the next episode, we'll be looking to delve more into the ordinance state that has happened to be the cancer that needs to be dealt with, that needs to be placed under an academic chemotherapy to make sure that we don't have this ordinance that has been suppressing students. So look and follow us in our next episode, where we are going to discuss on this ordinance state. That is me, Lifeline Vita, your host. Thank you.